Relationships are the backbone of human life, yet they often feel like a delicate dance between connection and conflict. We seek companionship, trust, and joy, but differences in personalities, expectations, and communication styles frequently lead to misunderstandings and strife. Have you ever found yourself wondering, why can't they see things my way? Or why do we keep repeating the same arguments? These questions echo in countless relationships. Romantic partnerships, friendships, parent-child bonds, and even workplace dynamics. The truth is, our uniqueness is both a gift and a challenge. While diversity enriches life, it also demands patience, empathy, and skillful effort to navigate. This is where Buddhism offers profound insights. Over 2,500 years ago, the Buddha taught principles for harmonious coexistence, not just for monks in monasteries, but for anyone seeking peace and fulfillment in relationships. His teachings recognize that suffering in relationships stems from clinging to fixed expectations, failing to acknowledge differences, and neglecting the basic human need for kindness and understanding. By embracing these teachings, we learn to replace frustration with compassion and isolation with connection. The core of Buddhist relationship wisdom lies in 6 interconnected principles: physical kindness, verbal kindness, mental kindness, generosity, virtue, and shared goals. These are not abstract ideals but practical tools for transforming everyday interactions. For instance, physical kindness reminds us that small acts, helping a partner with chores, cooking a meal together, nurture mutual respect. Verbal kindness emphasizes the power of words to heal or harm, urging us to choose speech that uplifts rather than judges. Mental kindness invites us to cultivate positive thoughts about our loved ones, even when they're not present, breaking the cycle of resentment. But perhaps the most revolutionary teaching is the idea of shared goals. Buddhism encourages partners to align their aspirations, whether raising a family, pursuing a dream, or simply growing in understanding. When two people work toward a common vision, differences become opportunities for growth rather than sources of conflict. These principles are not confined to romantic relationships. They apply to friendships, familial bonds, and even how we interact with strangers. Imagine a workplace where colleagues practice generosity by sharing credit, or a community where neighbors prioritize kindness over competition. The ripple effect of these practices could transform not just individual relationships, but society itself. What makes Buddhist teachings on relationships particularly powerful is their universality. They don't require religious scion or rituals to be effective. Instead, they focus on universal human values, empathy, selflessness, and the courage to confront our own patterns of attachment and aversion. By applying these principles, we learn to see our partners, friends, and even difficult acquaintances not as obstacles to our happiness, but as teachers guiding us toward greater wisdom and compassion. In today's fast-paced, often disconnected world, these teachings offer a radical antidote to loneliness and discord. They remind us that happiness in relationships isn't about finding the perfect person or avoiding conflict, but about creating a foundation of mutual respect and love through mindful action. As the Buddha said, happiness never decreases by being shared. In the following pages, we'll explore each of these 6 principles in depth, uncovering how they address the root causes of relational suffering and provide a roadmap for lasting joy. Whether you're navigating a challenging partnership, rebuilding trust, or simply seeking to deepen your connections, these timeless teachings hold the potential to transform your relationships and your life from the inside out. Are you ready to begin? Physical kindness, the foundation of connection, the power of nonverbal gestures. In the intricate tapestry of human relationships, physical kindness stands as the quiet yet powerful thread that weaves individuals together. It's the language of the heart spoken through actions, a universal dialect understood by all, transcending the barriers of words. Picture this: a gentle pat on the back during a moment of triumph, a comforting hand placed on a shoulder in times of sorrow, or a warm embrace that silently communicates, I'm here for you. These are the subtle gestures that form the bedrock of physical kindness. Physical kindness is the tangible expression of our care and concern for another person. It's the way we use our bodies to bridge the gap between ourselves and others, creating a connection that's felt at the most primal level. Unlike verbal expressions, which can be misinterpreted or forgotten, physical acts of kindness leave an indelible imprint on the recipient's heart. They are the silent witnesses to our compassion, speaking volumes about our character and the value we place on our relationships. The science behind the touch. But why does a simple touch have such a profound impact? The answer lies in the science of our bodies. When we engage in physical acts of kindness, our brains release oxytocin, often referred to as the love hormone. This chemical reaction induces feelings of trust, bonding, and emotional closeness. It's the biological mechanism that reinforces the social bonds crucial for our survival as a species. Take, for instance, the act of hugging. A warm embrace can lower blood pressure, reduce stress hormones, and even boost the immune system. It's not just an emotional exchange, it's a physiological one too. Similarly, a smile shared between two people can trigger the release of endorphins, creating a sense of pleasure and well-being. These physical reactions are nature's way of rewarding us for connecting with others, reinforcing the importance of physical kindness in our lives. Cultivating physical kindness in daily life. So how can we incorporate physical kindness into our everyday interactions? It begins with mindfulness and intention. Start by being present in your interactions. Put away distractions and focus entirely on the person in front of you. When you listen attentively, maintain eye contact, and offer a warm smile, you're already practicing physical kindness. In romantic relationships, physical kindness can take many forms. It could be preparing your partner's favorite meal, surprising them with a thoughtful gift, or simply massaging their shoulders after a long day. These actions communicate, "I see you, I appreciate you, and I want to make your life easier." They're the building blocks of a loving and supportive partnership. In friendships, it might mean being there for your friend during a difficult time, bringing them soup when they're sick, helping them move to a new home, or just sitting with them in silence when words fail. It's about showing up and offering your physical presence and assistance, letting them know they're not alone. Even in professional settings, physical kindness has its place. Holding the door open for a colleague, offering them your seat during a long meeting, or simply greeting them with a warm handshake can foster a positive work environment. It's about acknowledging their humanity and respecting their space and comfort. Overcoming the hesitation. But why do we sometimes hesitate to offer physical kindness? Cultural norms, personal boundaries, and past experiences can all influence our willingness to engage in physical acts of compassion. It's essential to respect individual differences and approach physical kindness with sensitivity. For some, a warm hug is the ultimate expression of support, while others may feel uncomfortable with physical touch. Pay attention to the cues others send and adjust your actions accordingly. The key is to prioritize their comfort and consent, ensuring that your gestures of kindness are welcomed and appreciated. The ripple effect. The beauty of physical kindness is its ripple effect. When we practice it, we not only strengthen our existing relationships, but also inspire others to do the same. A child who grows up in an environment rich with physical affection is more likely to replicate those behaviors in their future relationships. Similarly, a workplace that values physical kindness can become a model of camaraderie and cooperation. Imagine a world where physical kindness is the norm, a world where strangers smile at each other, neighbors help carry groceries, and communities come together to support those in need. It's a vision of society that's built on empathy and connection, where the simple act of extending a helping hand can spark a chain reaction of compassion. The journey of a lifetime. Physical kindness is not just a one-time effort, but a lifelong journey. It's about consistently showing up for the people in our lives, day in and day out. It's about being attuned to their needs and responding with actions that speak louder than words. As we navigate the complexities of relationships, Let us remember the power of physical kindness. It's the foundation upon which strong, meaningful connections are built. By incorporating it into our daily lives, we can transform our relationships and create a world that's a little more compassionate, one gesture at a time. To verbal kindness, the art of uplifting speech, the weight of words. In the grand theater of human interaction, words serve as both the script and the dialogue that shapes our relationships. They are the invisible threads that weave the tapestry of connection, capable of painting landscapes of joy or storms of sorrow. The Buddha, with his penetrating insight into the human condition, recognized the immense power of speech and its profound impact on the well-being of individuals and communities. Verbal kindness, he taught, is not merely a social courtesy, but a spiritual practice that can transform the quality of our relationships and, by extension, the fabric of society. Words are not transient entities that dissolve into the ether once spoken. They linger, they echo, they resonate within the hearts and minds of those who receive them. A harsh word can wound deeply, leaving scars that time struggles to heal, while a kind word can be a balm that soothes the soul, a beacon that guides someone through their darkest hours. The awareness of this power is the first step toward mastering the art of verbal kindness. The Buddhist perspective on speech. Buddhism places great emphasis on the mindful use of language. In the Noble Eightfold Path, right speech stands as one of the essential practices for those seeking to live a life of integrity and compassion. Right speech encompasses several key principles: speaking truthfully, avoiding divisive speech, refraining from harsh language, and abstaining from idle chatter. These guidelines are not merely about what not to do. They are invitations to elevate our communication to a level that nurtures understanding and harmony. The Buddha compared the mind to a painter. Just as a painter uses brushes and pigments to create images, the mind uses words to paint realities. If the mind is filled with kindness, patience, and wisdom, the words that emerge will reflect those qualities. Conversely, a mind dominated by anger, greed, or ignorance will give rise to speech that causes suffering. Thus, the practice of verbal kindness begins not just with the words we choose, but with the cultivation of a heart that is inclined toward compassion. The components of verbal kindness. Verbal kindness is a multifaceted practice that involves several key elements. Truthfulness. Honesty forms the bedrock of any meaningful relationship. Deception creates distance and erodes trust, while truthfulness builds bridges of reliability and respect. However, Buddhist teachings remind us that truthfulness should not be wielded like a weapon. The truth should be spoken with consideration for the well-being of others, in a way that is beneficial and timely. For example, if a friend asks for your opinion on a new outfit they've purchased and you find it unflattering, you might say, "I think it's very bold and unique. Have you considered how it makes you feel when you wear it?" This approach acknowledges your honesty while also inviting self-reflection rather than delivering a blunt critique. Avoiding divisive speech. Words have the power to unite or divide. Divisive speech, whether it be gossip, backbiting, or sowing discord between individuals or groups, creates fragmentation and conflict. Verbal kindness in this context means being mindful of how our words affect the relationships between others. It involves cultivating a commitment to being a peacemaker rather than a gossip. Imagine two friends who have had a falling out. Instead of taking sides or spreading stories about the conflict, you might say, "I care about both of you, and I know you both have good intentions. I believe there's a way to resolve this," and reconnect. Such words can help to ease tensions and encourage reconciliation. Refraining from harsh language. Harsh words, insults, and derogatory remarks have the capacity to inflict immediate and lasting pain. Verbal kindness calls us to communicate even our disagreements or criticisms with respect and gentleness. This doesn't mean avoiding difficult conversations, but rather approaching them with a sincere desire for mutual understanding. If you're upset with a colleague's work performance, instead of lashing out with, "You're always making mistakes and holding everyone back," you might say, "I've noticed some challenges in our workflow lately, and I'd like to work together to find ways we can both improve and support each other. This approach addresses the issue while preserving the dignity of the other person. Speaking purposefully. Idle chatter, while sometimes harmless, can often be a form of escapism or a way to fill uncomfortable silences. Verbal kindness involves being mindful of whether our words contribute value to the conversation or relationship. This doesn't mean every word must be profound, but rather that we strive to speak with intention, offering words that educate, inspire, encourage, or simply share meaningful experiences. In a world saturated with small talk and superficial interactions, choosing to engage in conversations that matter can deepen connections. Asking someone about their dreams, aspirations, or challenges, and listening attentively demonstrates a level of care that goes beyond casual conversation. The neuroscience of kind words. Modern science has begun to validate what spiritual traditions have known for millennia. The words we speak have a measurable impact on our brains and bodies. Studies have shown that kind words can reduce stress hormones, lower blood pressure, and even strengthen the immune system. When we practice verbal kindness, we're not only benefiting others, but also enhancing our own well-being. Conversely, negative speech activates the body's stress response, releasing cortisol and adrenaline, which over time can lead to a host of health issues. By choosing our words wisely, we're creating a healthier environment for ourselves and those around us, both physically and emotionally. Cultivating verbal kindness in daily life. Incorporating verbal kindness into our daily interactions requires mindfulness and practice. Here are some practical ways to nurture this aspect of communication. Start with self-compassion. Before we can consistently offer kind words to others, we must first learn to speak to ourselves with compassion. Pay attention to your internal dialogue. Are you frequently criticizing yourself, calling yourself names, or doubting your worth? Replace these harsh thoughts with affirmations of your inherent value and capacity for growth. For example, instead of thinking "I'm such a failure, I can't believe I messed that up," try, "I made a mistake, but that doesn't define me. I can learn from this and do better next time." As you become more adept at treating yourself with kindness, it becomes easier to extend that same compassion to others. Practice active listening. Often we're so focused on what we want to say next that we fail to truly hear the other person. Active listening involves giving your full attention, maintaining eye contact, nodding to acknowledge understanding, and responding thoughtfully. When people feel heard, they're more receptive to kind words and more likely to reciprocate with openness and respect. In a conversation with a loved one who's sharing their struggles, instead of immediately offering advice or solutions, you might simply say, "That sounds really challenging. I'm here for you, and I want to understand how you're feeling." This creates space for meaningful connection and allows your kind words to have a more profound impact. Choose your words with care. Before speaking, consider the potential effects of your words. Ask yourself, is this true? Is this necessary? Is this kind? If what you want to say doesn't meet these criteria, perhaps it's better left unsaid. For instance, if you're tempted to make a sarcastic remark about someone's choices, pause and reflect. Is there a way to express your thoughts constructively? You might say, "I have a different perspective on that. Would you be open to hearing it?" This approach maintains respect and opens the door to a productive exchange. Apologize and repair. We all slip up and say things we regret. When this happens, verbal kindness includes the courage to apologize sincerely. A genuine apology acknowledges the hurt caused, takes responsibility without making excuses, and offers to make amends. If you've spoken harshly to a friend, you might say, "I realize I said some hurtful things yesterday, and I'm truly sorry. That wasn't reflective of how I feel about you. Can I do anything to repair the damage?" This not only demonstrates your commitment to kindness, but also strengthens the relationship by showing accountability. Verbal kindness in different relationships. The practice of verbal kindness adapts to the unique dynamics of various relationships. In romantic relationships, words are the currency of emotional connection in romance. Regularly expressing appreciation, affection, and support can keep the spark of love alive. Instead of taking your partner for granted, make an effort to acknowledge their positive qualities and contributions to your life. You might say, "I really appreciate how you handled that difficult situation with our family. Your patience and wisdom mean so much to me." Or, "I've been thinking about how grateful I am for your love and support. You make such a positive difference in my life every day." During conflicts, which are inevitable in any relationship, verbal kindness means expressing your needs without attacking your partner. Using "I" statements can help. "I feel hurt when plans are changed at the last minute because I was really looking forward to our time together. Can we work together to find a solution that works for both of us?" In parent-child relationships, children are incredibly attuned to the words of their parents, and verbal kindness plays a crucial role in their emotional development. Encouraging words can build a child's self-esteem and resilience, while harsh criticism can lead to long-term insecurities. Instead of saying, "You're always messing up your homework," try, "I know this assignment is challenging for you, but I believe in your ability to figure it out. Let's work on it together." Praising effort rather than just results also fosters a growth mindset. "I'm so proud of how hard you worked on that project, even when it got tough. That's amazing to see." As children grow older, verbal kindness also involves respecting their autonomy and opinions. Asking for their thoughts and valuing their input helps them develop into confident, thoughtful adults. In friendships thrive on open, honest communication that's tempered with kindness. Being there to listen when a friend is struggling and offering words of comfort and encouragement can deepen your bond. If a friend is feeling down about a failure, you might say, "I know this feels really disappointing right now, but I've seen how resilient you are. I have no doubt you'll bounce back from this and find new opportunities." Celebrating their successes with genuine enthusiasm also strengthens the relationship. "I'm so excited for you and what you've accomplished. Your hard work really paid off." Even in casual friendships, simple acts like remembering details about their lives and asking about them in conversations demonstrate that you value and care about them. In the workplace, professional settings might seem like an unlikely place for verbal kindness, but its practice can transform office dynamics. Offering sincere compliments for a job well done, expressing gratitude for colleagues' contributions, and providing constructive feedback rather than criticism can create a more positive and collaborative work environment. For example, instead of saying, "This report is full of errors," you might say, "I noticed some areas in the report where the data could be double-checked for accuracy. I'd be happy to help you review it, if that would be helpful." Recognizing a coworker's effort in a team meeting by saying, "I want to highlight how valuable Jane's input was on this project. Her insights really helped us move forward," fosters a sense of appreciation and teamwork. Overcoming barriers to verbal kindness. Despite its benefits, practicing verbal kindness doesn't come naturally to everyone. Several barriers can stand in the way. Cultural and family patterns. We often internalize communication styles from our upbringing and cultural background. If you grew up in an environment where criticism was the norm, or where emotions were rarely expressed openly, shifting to a kinder way of speaking requires conscious effort. Recognizing these patterns is the first step toward change. For instance, if your family tended to focus on what went wrong rather than acknowledging what went well, you might need to deliberately create new habits of expressing gratitude and appreciation in your current relationships. Fear of vulnerability. Offering kind words can feel risky. What if the other person doesn't respond positively? What if our kindness is misinterpreted as weakness? These fears can keep us from speaking from the heart. However, vulnerability, as difficult as it may be, is the gateway to authentic connection. Brené Brown, a researcher on vulnerability, notes that vulnerability is not about winning or losing. It's about courageously showing up and being seen. When we speak kindly, even when it's challenging, we open ourselves to deeper relationships and personal growth. Misunderstandings and assumptions. Sometimes our words are misunderstood. or we assume we know what the other person needs to hear. Clear communication is essential. If your kind words are met with confusion or resistance, gently clarify your intentions. Conversely, if you're unsure about how to respond to someone's expression of kindness, ask for clarification rather than making assumptions. If a friend says something that seems kind but feels off to you, you might say, "I appreciate that you're trying to encourage me. I just want to make sure I understand where you're coming from. Can you tell me a bit more about what you meant?" The ripple effect of verbal kindness. The impact of verbal kindness extends far beyond the immediate interaction. When we speak with kindness, we create a positive ripple effect that can influence entire communities. A kind word to a stranger might brighten their day, prompting them to pass on that kindness to someone else. In workplaces, leaders who model verbal kindness can inspire a culture of respect and support that trickles down to all levels of the organization. On a broader scale, the collective practice of verbal kindness contributes to a more compassionate society. It challenges the narratives of divisiveness and negativity that often dominate public discourse. By choosing our words wisely, we become agents of positive change, helping to cultivate a world where understanding and empathy take precedence over conflict and criticism. Verbal kindness as a spiritual practice. For many, verbal kindness is not just a social skill, but a spiritual discipline. It reflects a deep commitment to non-harming, ahimsa, and compassion, karuna, principles central to many spiritual traditions. When we practice verbal kindness, we align ourselves with these higher values, allowing our speech to become a vehicle for our spiritual growth. This practice also deepens our self-awareness. As we become more mindful of our words, we gain insight into our thoughts, emotions, and motivations. We learn to recognize the arising of anger, jealousy, or impatience before they manifest as harmful speech, giving us the opportunity to choose a different response. In this way, verbal kindness becomes a mirror to our inner world, guiding us toward greater emotional maturity and spiritual awakening. Embracing the lifelong journey. Mastering the art of verbal kindness is not a destination but a lifelong journey. There will be moments of success and moments of setback, but each interaction offers a new opportunity to grow. As we continue to practice, we develop a keener sensitivity to the needs of others and a more nuanced understanding of how to communicate effectively and compassionately. Remember that verbal kindness doesn't mean suppressing your authentic self or avoiding difficult conversations. It means expressing yourself in a way that honors both your truth and the dignity of others. It's about finding the balance between honesty and compassion, between standing firm in your values and meeting others where they are. In embracing this practice, we not only improve the quality of our relationships, but also contribute to a more compassionate world, one word at a time. 3. Mental kindness. Cultivating inner compassion. The battlefield of the mind. In the quiet chambers of our minds, a constant dance of thoughts unfolds, a dance that can either lead us toward harmony or plunge us into chaos. The Buddha, with his profound insight, recognized that the seeds of both conflict and compassion are sown in the mind. Mental kindness, therefore, is the practice of nurturing positive thoughts toward ourselves and others, even when they are not present. It's about creating an inner atmosphere where understanding and goodwill can flourish. Just as a gardener tends to the soil before planting seeds, we must cultivate our minds to grow the fruits of healthy relationships. Our thoughts are not passive observers of our lives, they are active participants that shape our reality. A mind filled with resentment, jealousy, or anger will filter our perceptions, coloring our interactions with negativity. Conversely, a mind cultivated with kindness becomes a lens through which we see the beauty and potential in others. Mental kindness is the foundation upon which our words and actions are built, making it a silent yet powerful force in our relationships. The impact of thoughts on relationships. Thoughts possess a unique quality. They can travel across time and space. We can hold someone in our hearts with love or harbor bitterness toward them long after they've left our presence. These mental states don't remain confined within us. They send it into our behavior, influencing how we treat others when we meet them again. Have you ever noticed how a day filled with positive thoughts about a loved one seems to bring you closer, while a mind preoccupied with grievances creates tension even before a conversation begins? Mental kindness is also about how we speak to ourselves. The voices in our heads often go unnoticed, yet they play a crucial role in our ability to extend kindness to others. A person who is constantly self-critical is more likely to project that harshness onto others. Conversely, when we practice self-compassion, we develop the emotional resources to be compassionate toward those around us, cultivating the soil of the mind. The journey toward mental kindness begins with mindfulness, the practice of observing our thoughts without judgment. It's about creating space between stimulus and response, allowing us to choose thoughts that align with our values rather than being carried away by the current of automatic reactions. The practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness meditation is a powerful tool for cultivating mental kindness. By sitting in stillness and observing the flow of thoughts, we begin to see them for what they are, transient mental events rather than absolute truths. This perspective allows us to disengage from negative thought patterns and consciously redirect our focus toward positivity. For example, when a thought like, "My partner never appreciates me," arises during meditation, we can acknowledge it without attaching to it. We might then gently shift our attention to a positive memory or intention, such as, "I choose to focus on the moments when we supported each other." Transforming negative thought patterns. We all carry mental habits formed through years of experience. Some thoughts may be rooted in past hurts or insecurities, replaying like a broken record in our minds. Transforming these patterns requires patience and consistent effort. Each time a negative thought emerges, we can consciously replace it with a kinder alternative. If you find yourself thinking, "My friend is so inconsiderate for canceling plans again," you might reframe it as, "My friend must be going through something challenging. I hope they're doing well, and I'm here for them when they need me." The role of gratitude. Gratitude is a potent antidote to negative thinking. By regularly reflecting on the positive aspects of our relationships, we train our minds to notice and appreciate the good. This practice shifts our focus from what's lacking to what's abundant. Consider keeping a gratitude journal specifically for your relationships. Each day, write down one thing you appreciate about a person in your life. It could be as simple as, "I'm grateful for my colleague's willingness to help me with a difficult task today." Over time, this practice can rewire your brain to prioritize kindness and appreciation. Loving kindness, meditation. One of the most transformative practices for cultivating mental kindness is loving kindness meditation, or Metta. This ancient Buddhist practice involves silently repeating phrases of goodwill toward oneself and others, expanding the circle of compassion gradually. Here's a simple Metta practice you can try. Begin with yourself. Sit comfortably and silently repeat phrases like, "May I be happy, may I be healthy, may I be safe, may I live with ease." Take time to internalize these wishes. 2. Extend to a loved one. Visualize someone you care about deeply and repeat, "May you be happy, may you be healthy, may you be safe, may you live with ease." 3. Include neutral and difficult people. Gradually expand your focus to include acquaintances, strangers, and even those with whom you've had conflicts, wishing them the same well-being. Radiate to all beings. Finally, extend your goodwill universally. May all beings everywhere be happy, healthy, safe, and at ease. This practice helps break down the mental barriers we've built between ourselves and others, fostering a sense of interconnectedness and compassion. The neuroscience of mental kindness. Modern science supports the transformative power of mental kindness. Studies on loving kindness meditation have shown that it increases activity in brain regions associated with empathy and emotional regulation while decreasing those linked to stress and anxiety. Over time, regular practice can lead to structural changes in the brain, making kindness a more default response. Additionally, the cultivation of positive mental states through practices like Metta has been linked to enhanced immune function, improved sleep, and greater life satisfaction. By training our minds in kindness, we're not only benefiting our relationships, but also investing in our holistic well-being. Mental kindness in action. The practice of mental kindness isn't confined to meditation cushions or quiet moments of reflection. It permeates our daily interactions and decision-making processes. In conflict resolution, when disagreements arise, our mental attitude can determine the outcome. Approaching a conflict with a mind prepared through kindness allows us to listen more deeply, respond more thoughtfully, and seek solutions that honor both parties. For example, if a friend has hurt your feelings, instead of dwelling on thoughts of betrayal, you might reflect, "I know my friend cares about me, and there must be a reason behind their actions. I want to understand their perspective and find a way to heal this rift." When overcoming differences in relationships strained by differing opinions or values, mental kindness helps us see beyond the surface. It reminds us that every person has their own story, shaped by unique experiences and conditioning. This understanding fosters patience and openness. If you're in a relationship where you and your partner have conflicting views on a significant issue, you might think, their perspective is valid within their life experience. I may not agree, but I can respect their right to hold it and seek common ground. During absence, one of the beautiful aspects of mental kindness is that it transcends physical presence. When someone is far away, we can still nurture our relationship by holding them in our thoughts with goodwill. This practice can be especially meaningful in long-distance relationships or when loved ones are going through challenging times. You might make it a habit to spend a few minutes each day thinking about an absent friend or family member, sending them positive intentions, and visualizing their well-being. This act of mental presence can strengthen the emotional bond even when physical distance separates you. Overcoming obstacles to mental kindness. Like any practice, cultivating mental kindness has its challenges. The weight of past hurts. Old wounds can make it difficult to generate kind thoughts, especially toward those who've hurt us. Forgiveness isn't about excusing harmful behavior, but about releasing the grip of resentment on our hearts. It's a gift we give ourselves to move forward with a lighter spirit. If you're struggling to forgive someone, you might start by acknowledging the pain they caused, and then gently shifting your focus to your own growth and healing. Thoughts like, "I acknowledge the hurt, but I choose to let go of the anger that's holding me back," can be a starting point. The illusion of separateness. Our minds often create boundaries between us and them, making it harder to extend kindness universally. Remembering our shared humanity, our common desires for happiness, love, and security can dissolve these mental barriers. When you find yourself judging someone harshly, pause and reflect. This person, like me, wants to be happy. They, like me, have faced difficulties. May they find peace. The noise of a busy mind. In our fast-paced world, finding the mental space for kindness requires intention. Regular mindfulness practice, even for short periods, can help quiet the mind's chatter and create room for compassionate thoughts. Consider setting reminders throughout your day to take a few mindful breaths and offer a kind thought to someone who comes to mind. Over time, these moments accumulate, fostering a more consistently kind mental landscape. The transformative power of mental kindness. When we embark on the journey of cultivating mental kindness, we set in motion a transformation that radiates outward. As our minds become steadier and more compassionate, our relationships begin to reflect this change. Conversations become more heartfelt, conflicts resolve more amicably, and a deeper sense of connection emerges. Moreover, this practice has the potential to heal old wounds. Many of us carry unresolved hurts from past relationships that continue to influence our present interactions. By extending kindness to those who've wronged us, even if they never know it, we can release the emotional burdens that weigh us down. Mental kindness as a foundation for all relationships. Mental kindness isn't just one aspect of healthy relationships, it's the foundation upon which all other aspects rest. When our minds are inclined toward compassion, our physical actions naturally become more considerate, our words more thoughtful, and our ability to share and collaborate more profound. It's the quiet, often unseen work that transforms relationships from the inside out. By tending to the garden of our minds with patience and care, we create the conditions for love, trust, and joy to flourish in all our connections. 4. Sharing without reservation. The generous heart in relationships. The alchemy of generosity. In the rich tapestry of Buddhist teachings, the practice of sharing stands as a beacon of transformative power, illuminating the path toward deeper connection and joy. Sharing without reservation is more than a behavioral guideline. It's an invitation to revolutionize the way we relate to others by cultivating a spirit of generosity that knows no bounds. This principle challenges us to shift from a mindset of scarcity to one of abundance, recognizing that true happiness is found not in accumulating but in giving. Generosity in the Buddhist context isn't merely about parting with material possessions. It's a multifaceted practice that extends to sharing our time, energy, skills, and even our joy with others. When we give without expecting anything in return, we dissolve the barriers that separate us and create openings for authentic connection. This form of sharing becomes the lifeblood of meaningful relationships, fostering trust, gratitude, and a sense of unity. The Buddhist philosophy of generosity. At the heart of Buddhist thought lies the understanding that attachment to possessions and outcomes leads to suffering. Generosity, dana, is one of the first virtues taught to practitioners, serving as a foundational practice for ethical conduct and spiritual growth. By letting go of clinging, we begin to experience the freedom that comes from recognizing the impermanent nature of all things. Sharing becomes not a loss, but a gain, an expansion of our hearts and a deepening of our relationships. The concept of without reservation is key here. It means giving wholeheartedly, without calculating the benefits or keeping a mental ledger of debts. This kind of generosity is free from the foreign of expectation, making it a pure expression of compassion. As the Buddha taught in the Anguttara Nikaya, if you knew the power of giving, you would surely give and give again. The many faces of sharing. Sharing in relationships takes diverse forms, each contributing uniquely to the health and vitality of our connections. Let's explore these dimensions. Material sharing. The most tangible form of sharing involves giving physical resources, food, money, gifts, or possessions. In relationships, this might mean preparing a meal for your partner after a long day, gifting something meaningful to a friend, or offering financial support to a family member in need. Material sharing is powerful because it meets practical needs and communicates care. However, it's important to ensure that such generosity doesn't become transactional. The spirit of without reservation reminds us to give with humility and without strings attached. For example, if you lend money to a sibling, approach it with the mindset of helping rather than expecting repayment or gratitude. Sharing time and presence. In our fast-paced world, the gift of time is perhaps the most precious we can offer. Being fully present with someone, listening without distraction, engaging in shared activities, or simply sitting in companionship demonstrates that we value their existence. Consider a parent who puts aside work to attend their child's school, play, or a friend who stays late into the night to offer comfort during a crisis. These moments of presence create emotional bonds that sustain relationships through challenging times. Sharing knowledge and skills. Generosity extends to imparting what we know. Teaching a skill, offering advice, or sharing insights can empower others and strengthen relational ties. A mentor who patiently guides a junior colleague, or a grandparent passing down family stories and traditions exemplifies this form of sharing. In romantic relationships, sharing knowledge might involve teaching your partner about something you're passionate about, cooking, gardening, or a hobby, creating shared experiences that enrich your connection. Emotional sharing. Vulnerability is at the core of emotional sharing. Opening up about your feelings, fears, and hopes allows others to know you deeply and fosters intimacy. When partners share their emotional landscapes honestly, they build a reservoir of trust and understanding, However, emotional sharing must be balanced with awareness of the other person's capacity to receive. Overburdening someone with your emotions without considering their well-being can undermine the relationship. The key is to share in a way that invites connection rather than overwhelms. Sharing joy and success, celebrating others' achievements and sharing in their happiness is a form of generosity that multiplies joy. It's easy to fall into comparison or jealousy when others succeed, but Buddhist teachings encourage us to practice mudita, or sympathetic joy. When your friend receives a promotion, genuinely celebrate with them instead of focusing on your own situation. In romantic relationships, sharing excitement about each other's wins, no matter how small, creates a positive feedback loop of appreciation and love. The science of generosity. Modern research corroborates the wisdom of Buddhist teachings on sharing. Studies show that acts of generosity activate the brain's reward centers, releasing dopamine and creating a sense of pleasure. This helper's high benefits both the giver and receiver, strengthening social bonds and improving mental health. Furthermore, generosity has been linked to reduced stress, lower blood pressure, and increased longevity. When we share without reservation, we're not only contributing to others' well-being, but also investing in our own health and happiness. Overcoming barriers to generosity. Despite its benefits, practicing generosity can be challenging. Several obstacles often stand in the way. And fear of scarcity. Many of us operate from a place of scarcity, believing that there's not enough to go around. This mindset can make sharing feel like a sacrifice rather than a joy. Buddhist teachings remind us of the paradox of generosity. The more we give, the more we receive, not necessarily in material terms, but in the richness of our experiences and relationships. Reflecting on times when sharing actually brought unexpected benefits can help reframe this fear. For example, you might recall how helping a neighbor led to a new friendship, or how giving to a cause aligned you with a community of like-minded individuals. Concerns about being taken advantage of, vulnerability in sharing can leave us worried about exploitation. While it's wise to set healthy boundaries, approaching sharing with a discerning heart rather than a closed one allows us to give freely while protecting our well-being. Trust your intuition to guide you in knowing when and how much to share. If a friend frequently borrows items without returning them, you might still offer your time or emotional support while being more cautious with material possessions. This balances generosity with self-respect. The illusion of ownership. Buddhism teaches that the very concept of ownership is an illusion. Everything we have is temporary and interconnected with the efforts of countless others. Recognizing this can free us from the tight grip of possession and encourage us to see resources as meant for sharing. When you offer your car to a friend in need, remind yourself that the car itself is a product of many people's labor and resources. Your role as a temporary steward of these resources gives you the opportunity to use them for the greater good. Practical ways to cultivate generosity. Incorporating sharing into daily life requires intention and practice. Here are some actionable steps. Daily intention setting. Each morning, set a simple intention to share something with someone. It could be a smile, a kind word, a small gift, or your time. This practice trains your mind to look for opportunities to give throughout the day. For example, you might decide to compliment a coworker on their work or offer to walk a neighbor's dog. Small acts accumulate into a culture of generosity. Create sharing rituals. Establish regular practices that involve sharing. Family dinner times where everyone shares something positive from their day. Monthly gatherings with friends where you exchange handmade gifts or skills, or annual community service projects all institutionalize generosity in your relationships. These rituals not only make sharing habitual but also create shared memories that reinforce connection. Reflect on your abundance. Take time weekly to reflect on what you have in abundance: time, skills, emotional capacity, or material resources. Identifying these abundances helps shift your mindset from scarcity to plenty and highlights areas where you can share. If you realize you have extra time on weekends, You might volunteer at a local shelter or offer to help a friend with a project. If you're skilled at cooking, you could prepare meals for someone going through a difficult time. Practice anonymous giving. Anonymous acts of sharing can purify your intentions by removing the potential for recognition or gratitude to become motivators. Leave a kind note for a stranger, pay for someone's coffee, or donate to a cause without signing your name. This practice helps cultivate generosity as a selfless act, deepening its spiritual impact. Teach children the joy of sharing. Introduce children to sharing early by involving them in generosity activities. Let them choose toys to donate, participate in cooking meals for others, or help write thank you notes. These experiences instill sharing as a natural part of life and relationship building. When your child shares their snacks with a classmate, acknowledge and praise their kindness to reinforce this behavior. The ripple effect of generosity. The impact of sharing without reservation extends far beyond individual relationships. Like a stone dropped in a pond, acts of generosity create ripples that touch countless lives. When you share with someone, you inspire them to do the same, creating a chain reaction of kindness. A workplace where knowledge is freely shared becomes more innovative and collaborative. A community where resources are pooled and distributed generously develops resilience and cohesion. On a global scale, movements of generosity, like disaster relief efforts or charitable initiatives, demonstrate how collective sharing can address suffering and build bridges between diverse groups. Generosity as a mirror to the soul. How we share reflects our inner world. When we give with openness and without reservation, we reveal a heart that's unburdened by fear and brimming with compassion. Generosity becomes a mirror that shows us our progress in spiritual growth and our capacity to love. Conversely, when we find ourselves withholding, it invites self-reflection. What fears or attachments are blocking the flow of giving? This introspection is a valuable part of the journey toward becoming more generous beings. Embracing a lifetime of sharing. The practice of sharing without reservation is a lifelong adventure. It deepens with each act of generosity, each moment of selfless giving. There will be times when sharing feels effortless and times when it demands great courage. Each experience is an opportunity to grow. Remember that generosity isn't about giving until it hurts. It's about giving until it feels natural and joyful. It's about recognizing that in sharing, we don't lose. We multiply the goodness in the world and in our lives. As we continue to practice this fourth principle of happy relationships, we discover that the heart that gives without reservation is the heart that knows no bounds, a heart that finds its greatest joy in the well-being of others. Virtue, the cornerstone of trust, the silent language of integrity. In the intricate dance of relationships, there exists a language that needs no words, a language written in the currency of actions, consistency, and moral fiber. This is the language of virtue. When we speak of virtue in the context of relationships, we're referring to the steadfast adherence to principles that foster trust, respect, and emotional safety. It's the quiet yet powerful presence of integrity that allows connections to flourish and withstand the tests of time. Virtue, as taught in Buddhist philosophy, isn't merely a set of rules to follow, but a dynamic practice that shapes our character and the quality of our interactions. It's the embodiment of our deepest values, woven into the fabric of daily life. In relationships, virtue becomes the foundation upon which all other elements, kindness, sharing, and understanding rest. Without it, even the most beautiful gestures can crumble under the weight of doubt and insecurity. The Buddhist framework of virtue. Buddhism outlines a clear path for ethical living, often summarized in the 5 precepts: abstaining from harming living beings, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, and intoxication. These precepts aren't intended to be rigid commandments, but rather compassionate guidelines that protect our well-being and the well-being of others. In the context of relationships, these precepts translate into actions that build trust and create spaces where love can grow. They invite us to consider how our behavior impacts those around us and to choose paths that minimize harm and maximize benefit. Virtue, in this sense, isn't about perfection but about the sincere effort to align our lives with principles that serve the greater good. Trust, the bedrock of connection. At the heart of virtue's role in relationships is trust. Trust is the invisible glue that binds people together, allowing them to be vulnerable, to hope, and to depend on one another. It's built through countless small moments of integrity, keeping promises, being honest, respecting boundaries, and maintaining fidelity. Without trust, relationships become transactions, fraught with suspicion and guardedness. Virtue is the architect of trust, carefully laying each brick of honest action and ethical behavior. When we live with virtue, others know they can rely on us, creating a sense of security that's essential for deep connection. The 5 precepts in relationship practice. Let's explore how each of the 5 precepts contributes to virtuous relationships. Non-harming. Ahimsa. In relationships, non-harming extends beyond physical violence to include emotional and psychological sensitivity. It means choosing words and actions that uplift rather than wound, even in moments of conflict. It involves respecting the other person's boundaries and autonomy, recognizing that their well-being is as important as our own. For example, during an argument with a partner, practicing non-harming might mean taking a pause rather than saying something hurtful out of anger. It's the conscious choice to seek resolution without inflicting pain. 2. Non-stealing. This precept reminds us to honor the concept of consent and to avoid taking what isn't freely given, whether it's material possessions, emotional energy, or attention. In relationships, non-stealing can manifest as respecting a partner's time and space, not manipulating situations to get our way, and acknowledging their right to their own experiences. If your friend is going through a difficult time and needs space, respecting their request for solitude rather than demanding their attention aligns with this principle. Sexual integrity. The 3rd precept, often translated as avoiding sexual misconduct, emphasizes respect for the bonds of commitment and the dignity of all individuals. In romantic relationships, this means honoring agreements of fidelity and respecting the emotional and physical boundaries that constitute consent. It also extends to how we treat others outside of our primary relationships, ensuring that our actions don't cause harm or confusion. This precept fosters an environment of trust and loyalty, essential for long-term relational health. 4. Truthfulness. Honesty is the lifeblood of authentic connection. Truthfulness in relationships means speaking our truth kindly and listening to the truths of others with openness. It involves avoiding lies of convenience, exaggeration, or omission that can erode the foundation of trust over time. When you make a mistake that affects your relationship, truthfulness calls you to acknowledge it rather than hiding it. This practice strengthens the bond by demonstrating accountability and respect. Avoiding intoxication. The 5th precept advises against the use of substances that cloud the mind. In relationships, this means maintaining clarity and presence, ensuring that our interactions are based on awareness rather than altered states. Intoxication can lead to impulsive actions and words that we later regret, damaging the delicate threads of connection. By keeping our minds clear, we're better equipped to navigate the complexities of relationships with wisdom and compassion. The ripple effect of virtuous living. When we live virtuously, the benefits extend far beyond our individual relationships. Our actions inspire others to consider their own ethical behavior, creating a positive ripple effect within our communities. A workplace characterized by integrity becomes a model of professionalism and mutual respect. Families that prioritize virtue raise children who understand the value of honesty and compassion. On a broader scale, societies that emphasize virtuous living see reductions in crime, increases in civic participation, and stronger social cohesion. Virtue isn't a private practice, it's a public good that benefits. Cultivating virtue in daily life. Incorporating virtue into our relationships requires ongoing practice and self-reflection. Here are practical ways to nurture this quality. Mindful decision-making. Pause before speaking or acting, especially in challenging situations. Ask yourself, does this align with my values? Will it build or damage trust? This moment of mindfulness can transform impulsive reactions into thoughtful responses. For instance, before sharing a piece of gossip about a colleague, reflect on how it might affect their reputation and your relationship with them. Regular self-reflection. Set aside time weekly to review your actions and their impact on your relationships. Consider moments where you upheld your virtues and those where you fell short. Without judgment, ask yourself how you can improve. You might journal about a situation where you struggled with honesty and explore what motivated your choice, learning from the experience for the future. Open communication about values. Share your commitment to virtue with your loved ones. Discuss the importance of these principles in your life and invite dialogue about how they can strengthen your relationship. This transparency builds mutual understanding and accountability. In a romantic relationship, you might say, "I've been thinking about how important honesty is to me, and I want to make sure we both feel safe sharing our truths. How can we support each other in this?" Learn from role models. Identify individuals, historical, fictional, or in your personal life, who exemplify virtue in relationships. Study their actions and attitudes, considering how you might emulate their qualities. Maybe a historical figure like Nelson Mandela, known for his integrity, even in the face of immense adversity, inspires you to maintain dignity in conflicts. Repair and renew. When you do falter in your commitment to virtue, approach the situation with a repair mindset. Acknowledge the breach, take responsibility, and work to rebuild trust. This process itself demonstrates a virtuous intention to grow. If you've broken a promise to a friend, apologize sincerely and discuss how you can ensure such mistakes don't recur. This strengthens the relationship through accountability. Virtue in the face of challenge. No relationship exists in a vacuum free from tests of virtue. Conflicts, temptations, and misunderstandings will inevitably arise. It's in these moments that the true measure of our commitment to virtue is revealed. When a friend confides in you with information that could benefit you socially if shared, your adherence to truthfulness and non-harming is put to the test. Choosing to keep their confidence, even at a personal cost, reinforces the trust between you and builds your own character. Similarly, in long-term romantic relationships, the temptation to engage in emotional or physical infidelity may arise. Virtue calls you to honor your commitments, not out of obligation but out of respect for the bond you've created and the potential harm that could result from betrayal. The transformative power of virtue. As virtue becomes woven into the fabric of your being, you'll notice transformations not only in your relationships, but within yourself. You'll experience greater peace of mind, knowing that your actions align with your values. The relationships you nurture will become sanctuaries of trust and authenticity, attracting like-minded individuals into your life. Moreover, your capacity for love will deepen. Virtue isn't about restriction, it's about creating the conditions for love to flourish without the weeds of doubt and fear. When others know they can rely on your integrity, they'll open their hearts more fully, allowing for connections that touch the deepest parts of the human experience. Virtue is a journey, not a destination. The cultivation of virtue is a lifelong journey marked by progress, not perfection. There will be moments of triumph where your actions exemplify your highest ideals, and there will be moments of stumble where you learn valuable lessons about yourself and your capacity for growth. Embrace this journey with compassion for yourself and others. Remember that the goal isn't to become perfect, but to become more present, more aware, and more committed to the well-being of all those you encounter. In the end, virtue isn't just one element of a happy relationship, it's the constellation that guides all other elements into alignment. It's the compass that directs us toward actions that honor both ourselves and others, creating relationships that are not just happy, but meaningful, resilient, and profound. 6. Shared goals. The compass that guides relationships. The symphony of shared aspiration. Imagine an orchestra, where each musician plays their instrument in isolation, following their own rhythm and melody. The result would be noise, not music. Relationships are much like this orchestra. They require coordination, a shared sense of direction, and a common purpose to create harmony. In Buddhist teachings, the concept of shared goals emerges as the guiding compass that helps individuals navigate the complexities of connection. When partners, friends, or family members align on aspirations and values, they create a powerful foundation for mutual support, growth, and lasting happiness. Shared goals aren't about erasing individual differences or forcing uniformity. Rather, they're about finding the threads of commonality that weave a stronger, more resilient relational fabric. They provide a sense of direction that transforms everyday interactions from mere exchanges into purposeful collaborations. In this way, shared goals become the silent architects of meaningful relationships, ensuring that the energy expended in connection builds towards something greater than the sum of its parts. The Buddhist perspective on shared purpose. Buddhism has long recognized that human beings are motivated by goals and aspirations, some skillful, some unskillful. Skillful goals are those that align with the principles of non-harming, wisdom, and compassion. When we share these kinds of goals with others, our relationships become channels for positive transformation, both individually and collectively. The Buddha often emphasized the importance of Sangha, the community of practitioners, coming together with the shared goal of realizing enlightenment. This model extends beyond monastic life to all forms of relationship, whether the goal is spiritual, practical, creative, or social. The act of pursuing it together strengthens bonds and creates a sense of belonging. Why shared goals matter. Relationships without shared goals can feel directionless, like boats adrift on the open sea. Shared goals provide the navigational tools, the rudder, the sails, the stars that help us move through life's waters with intention. They serve several critical functions, creating emotional security. When we know we're moving in the same direction as our partner or friend, uncertainty diminishes. The emotional safety that arises from this alignment allows vulnerability to flourish. We feel free to express our authentic selves, knowing that our shared aspirations act as a stabilizing force. Building resilience in adversity. Challenges are inevitable in any relationship. Shared goals transform obstacles from relationship-ending crises into opportunities for growth. When partners are committed to a common vision, whether it's building a family, starting a business, or overcoming addiction, they draw strength from their shared commitment, finding creative solutions together. Enhancing communication. Shared goals create a context for meaningful dialogue. They provide a framework within which disagreements can be navigated as strategic differences rather than personal attacks. When the larger purpose is clear, communication becomes focused on how to achieve it rather than who's right or wrong. Fostering mutual growth. Individual growth thrives in the soil of shared purpose. When we're committed to a common goal, we're more likely to support each other's learning and development. A partner who shares your commitment to health, for example, might encourage you to pursue new fitness challenges or nutritious eating habits. The many forms of shared goals. Shared goals can take countless shapes, adapting to the unique dynamics of each relationship. Here are some common manifestations. Life vision and value. At the broadest level, shared goals might involve aligning on life values and vision. This could mean agreeing on the importance of family, deciding to prioritize experiences over possessions, or committing to living in a way that honors your spiritual beliefs. In a romantic relationship, this might involve discussions about where you see yourselves in 5 or 10 years. Do you want to have children, buy a home, or travel extensively? When these visions align or at least complement each other, the relationship has a strong foundation for growth. Practical collaboration. Shared goals can be more concrete and immediate. Planning a garden together, saving for a vacation, or organizing community events are practical ways to collaborate. These goals provide opportunities for teamwork and create shared memories that reinforce connection. For friends who bond over a love of hiking, planning a challenging trail adventure can deepen their bond through shared effort and accomplishment. Personal development. Supporting each other's individual goals can become a shared goal in itself. If one partner wants to complete a degree, the other might commit to providing emotional support, helping with household tasks, or offering words of encouragement. In this way, personal achievements become relationship victories. Spiritual or community-oriented goals. For those with a spiritual practice, shared goals might involve meditating together, attending religious services, or volunteering for a cause. These activities build a sense of unity and higher purpose. A family that volunteers at a local food bank together not only contributes to their community, but also strengthens their internal bonds through shared commitment to helping others. Nurturing shared goals in relationships. Cultivating shared goals requires intention, communication, and flexibility. Here's how to nurture this vital element in your connections. Open and honest dialogue. Regular conversations about your aspirations, fears, and values are essential. Create safe spaces where each person can express their goals without judgment. Ask questions like, what's most important to you in life right now? How do you see our relationship contributing to your well-being? What dreams do you have that I can support you with? These dialogues should be ongoing rather than one-time events, as life circumstances and personal goals evolve over time. Finding common ground. Not every aspect of your lives needs to align perfectly. Focus on identifying areas of overlap and mutual interest. Perhaps you both value education, but have different specific goals. You can support each other's learning journeys while pursuing your individual paths. Creating a shared vision statement. Some couples or friend groups find it helpful to create a written vision statement that captures their shared goals. This document can serve as a touchstone during disagreements or moments of uncertainty. For example, a vision statement might read, "We commit to building a life together that prioritizes health, adventure, and mutual support, creating a home where love and respect flourish." Celebrating progress. Acknowledge and celebrate milestones along the way. Recognizing small wins reinforces your commitment and keeps motivation high. If you and your partner are saving for a house, celebrate when you reach each savings benchmark with a special dinner or activity. Remaining flexible. Life is unpredictable, and rigid adherence to a shared goal can become another source of tension. Approach your goals with a mindset of adaptability, willing to revise them as circumstances change. If a couple's goal of starting a family is delayed due to unforeseen health issues, they might revise their goal to focus on fostering or adopting children, finding new ways to honor their shared value of parenthood. The pitfalls of misaligned goals. When goals aren't aligned, relationships can experience strain. Recognizing the signs of misalignment and addressing them proactively is crucial. The illusion of agreement. Sometimes, partners assume they're on the same page without explicit communication. These unspoken assumptions can lead to disappointment when expectations aren't met. For example, one partner might assume the relationship is heading toward marriage, while the other sees it as a more open-ended commitment. Regular check-ins can prevent such misunderstandings. Sacrifice without balance. In an effort to maintain harmony, one person might continually set aside their goals for the sake of the relationship. Over time, this can lead to resentment and emotional distance. Healthy relationships require both parties to feel their aspirations are respected. If one partner consistently fancies their career ambitions to support the others, it's essential to reassess the balance and find ways to support each other more equitably. External pressures. Family expectations, cultural norms, or societal pressures can sometimes impose goals that don't resonate with both individuals. It's important to distinguish between authentic shared goals and those adopted to please others. A couple might feel pressured to buy a large home to meet family expectations, even though they prefer a minimalist lifestyle. Open dialogue helps clarify what truly matters to them. The ripple effect of shared purpose. The impact of shared goals extends beyond the individuals involved. Relationships characterized by common purpose inspire others to consider their own relational dynamics and goals. Communities where members collaborate toward shared visions, whether environmental sustainability, educational advancement, or social justice, become models of collective action and cohesion. On a societal level, the proliferation of relationships built on shared goals contributes to a culture of cooperation and mutual well-being. It challenges the narrative of isolation and individualism, demonstrating that our greatest achievements often emerge from partnership and unity. Shared goals as a path to meaning. At its core, the practice of cultivating shared goals invites us to consider a profound question. What do we want to create together that's bigger than ourselves? This question shifts the focus from mere coexistence to collaborative creation. When we align our aspirations with others, we tap into a wellspring of meaning that transcends daily routines. We become part of something larger, a shared journey toward growth, contribution, and legacy. Embracing the journey. The pursuit of shared goals isn't always smooth. There will be moments of misalignment, moments where sacrifice is required, and moments where the vision must evolve. Yet it's within these challenges that relationships often find their deepest strength. Approach this practice with patience and compassion for yourself and others. Remember that shared goals aren't about perfection, but about progress, about moving toward a future where your connection is defined by collaboration, understanding, and a shared sense of purpose. In embracing this final principle of happy relationships, you discover that true connection isn't just about being together, it's about building together, dreaming together, and growing together, one step at a time, toward a horizon of shared possibility. Final thoughts. Walking the path of relationship wisdom. As we conclude this exploration of the Buddhist teachings on happy relationships, we're invited to reflect on the transformative power of these ancient yet timeless principles. The journey through physical kindness, verbal kindness, mental kindness, generosity, virtue, and shared goals reveals a profound truth. The health and happiness of our relationships are within our control, shaped moment by moment, through our choices and practices. These teachings remind us that relationships aren't merely about the external connections we form, but about the internal landscape we cultivate. By nurturing kindness in our thoughts, words, and actions, by sharing generously without reservation, by living with integrity, and by aligning with shared aspirations, we transform not only our interactions, but our very beings. The path isn't always easy. There will be moments of stumble, times when anger or selfishness arises despite our best intentions. Yet it's in these moments that the teachings shine brightest, offering us pathways back to connection and understanding. Each misstep becomes an opportunity to practice forgiveness, both for ourselves and others, and to recommit to the principles that guide us toward healthier, more fulfilling relationships. Remember that this journey is lifelong. It's not about achieving perfection, but about growing in awareness and compassion. As you continue to apply these teachings, you'll discover your own unique expressions of them, adapting to your circumstances while honoring their essence. May these principles serve as a lantern in your relational journey, illuminating the way toward connections that bring joy, peace, and meaning, not just for you, but for all those you encounter. In the spirit of the Buddha's teachings, we invite you to share this wisdom far and wide. Just as the Buddha wandered from village to village, sharing insights that could transform lives, you too can be a vessel of this knowledge. Share these teachings with friends, family, and communities who might benefit from them. Let the light of understanding spread through your actions and words. And if you found value in this journey through Buddhist relationship wisdom, we humbly ask you to subscribe to our channel. By doing so, you join a community of learners and practitioners committed to applying ancient wisdom to modern life. Together, we can continue to explore, grow, and support one another on the path to happier, more meaningful connections. Remember the Buddha's words: thousands of candles can be lit from a single candle, and the life of the single candle is not shortened. Happiness never decreases by being shared. By subscribing and sharing, you become part of a luminous chain of compassion and learning, a chain that honors the Buddha's legacy and extends it into the world.